Hi, really. Firstly, I just want to thank everybody who's subscribed, liked, and even just watched some of the videos on my new Scale Speeder Gaming VR channel. It's always difficult starting a new channel from scratch, and I've been kind of blown away with the support that people have been giving me. So thank you very, very much for that. And in this video, I'm going to be doing my review of the Meta Quest 2 that I got a few short weeks ago, which, you know, the headline is basically going to be, this really is an amazing bargain for the casual VR gamer, whether you want it for PC VR, where your gaming PC is running the VR and then sending it to the headset via wireless or a wire, or if you want a standalone VR headset that plays VR games in and of itself. So in this video, I'm going to be trying to answer the question, you know, if you're interested in getting into standalone VR or PC VR, you know, is the Meta Quest 2, also it used to be known as the Oculus Quest 2, worth your money and time? Because depending on when you're watching this video, the Meta Quest 2 might or might not be available. So at the time of I'm recording this video, the Meta Quest 2 is really cheap. It's a real bargain. But you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, if it's so cheap, maybe they're trying to get rid of them. So there's a new model coming out, obviously. Should I wait for that one? Or maybe you're watching this in the future, the Meta Quest 2 isn't available, and you think about, you know, is it worth buying a second-hand one? But I think the first thing we need to understand here is what the Meta Quest 2 is capable of, you know, what it comes with, and of course, you know, how much does it cost? So the package that you get is really, really good with the Quest 2, because you get these two amazing touch controllers. And I think the problem is, the only other VR headset I've had was the PlayStation headset, the PSVR with the PlayStation 4, and that didn't come with any controllers. But you get these two controllers with the Meta Quest 2, and they're both, I'm calling them touch controllers, but the headset knows where they are in space and time. They've both got two triggers on them. They've both got a thumbstick on and two face buttons, and both got an option button. And they have built-in sensors, so they know when your fingers are just over the buttons and when they're pressing them too, which is pretty amazing, which is how you get all these different sort of finger combinations and emoting when you're in VR. You also get a charger, and you get like a foam cover that goes on the inside that presses against your face, but then they also give you like this final skin that goes over the top of that as well, because I understand that originally it just used to come out with the foam cover and people would have problems with that with their skin, so they've got this final thing that you put on as well, makes it a little bit more slick, a little bit more comfortable. Now, if you're not into VR headsets, or you know, you don't know much about them, and I didn't know this really either, was the fact that the Meta Quest 2 is capable of playing standalone games as well. So inside it, there's an Android-based system, a little bit like your phone. That's, you know, it's a computer in there, so it's got storage, it's got a processor, it's got a graphics processor. It's probably an APU actually. It's probably the both combined, but it's custom made. Which means that it can play games in and of itself, and not just games though, but apps. So things like, you know, YouTube, things like Netflix. You can browse the web, and you've got these games as well, which I would say the graphical quality of them is often kind of Xbox 360-ish. That's kind of what you get, which is pretty good if you ask me. And they've been a real surprise to me, the quality of the games that you play with the headset. And the beauty of when you play these games is it's completely wireless. Now, PC VR can be completely wireless as well, but these can be completely wireless with no loss of quality, because, you know, it's in the headset, which is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I've had some great experience with that sort of game. However, the main reason for me for buying the Quest 2 was the PC VR capability, and I didn't even know there was a difference between VR and PC VR, or standalone VR. So when we're talking about PC VR, we're talking about virtual reality, where the computer, your gaming computer, is rendering the game, and then it's being sent to the headset either wirelessly or via a wire. Now, the quality of this really depends on your gaming rig. You know, how powerful is it? Can it play VR game. So if you're not quite sure, what you want to do is really just look up minimum PC VR specs for the games you want to play, and just see whether your computer is recommended or not. I've got a Lenovo Legion T5 I think it's T5 pre-built that's got an RTX 3070. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it seems to be handling most things okay. So that's pretty cool. Although it is PC VR, the fact that the Meta Quest 2 can wirelessly transfer the data, or your PC can wirelessly transfer the data to your headset, was a really big thing for me, because one of the big things that put me off the PSVR was the big cable that it came with, and it was hanging down, and it was a pain to set up. And the fact that you can just pop your Meta Quest 2 on your head, connect it via the software to your computer, fire up a PC VR game like Euro Truck Simulator or Il-2 Sturmovik or Microsoft Flight Simulator or Assetto Corsa, and then be playing without any wires hanging down, is absolutely fantastic. It really is really very, very cool indeed. And so remember that with the Meta Quest 2, you've got these two things. You've got the built-in games that it can play, and then it can also be connected to your PC as a more traditional VR headset. What's really impressed me is the tracking as well. The headset has these cameras on it, and it has lots of sensors in the controllers and in the headset itself, so it knows where you are. You can kind of paint the floor to tell it if you're standing up, where the safe area is for you to move around so you don't bang into furniture, or you can have it in a seated position. And it seems to track everything very accurately, and and works incredibly well. One of the problems with the PSVR, the PlayStation VR, was the fact that the tracking was rubbish. I would remember you'd have the PlayStation camera on your telly or somewhere, and then it would slowly go out of sync, so you start to lean over. And then I've still got the gun, with like the golf ball on it, the coloured golf ball on the end, and the tracking for that was a bit pants as well. But this is really good. In fact, going back to the controllers, they really are very special indeed, and I think they're a really great bit of kit. And this kind of goes back to and relates to the price, and this is what sucked me, and this is the reason why I got a Meta Quest 2, because I've been playing more flight simulators recently, specifically World War II combat flight simulators like Il-2 Sturmovik, because I'd watched, is it Masters of the Air on Sky, the American TV series about the American Air Force during World War II, and I wanted to get into that, because I've always enjoyed Microsoft Flight Simulator on the Xbox and on the PC, and I thought I want to try this, and so I got myself a second-hand throttle and stick system, a second-hand HOTAS. And whenever you're watching videos about, say, Il-2 Sturmovik, everybody's using VR, because if you're in combat in an aeroplane, you need to be able to look around quickly to scan around, and it's difficult to do that when using a monitor. So VR was kind of at the back of my head, but I always thought, well, they're too expensive, because I knew that the new version of the PlayStation VR, the PSVR 2, was well over £500. I kind of remember that because it's more expensive than the console itself, and I thought, there's no way I'm gonna go for anything that sort of price. And in fact, one of the things that annoyed me about the PlayStation 5 and the PSVR 2 was the fact that it's not backwards compatible in terms of games for from the PSVR to the PSVR 2, which I thought was a real kick in the teeth for both units as well. Because it meant that all the people who had invested in the PSVR and invested in the games, and even things like the publishing houses and the developers that had made these games, they couldn't then sell these for the PSVR 2. And I know the PSVR 2 hasn't had much support, hasn't as much support as it should have had from Sony, and in fact they're bringing out a dongle or something so you can connect PSVR 2s to a PC. Obviously, that's the only way they're going to sell them now, because there's so few games that have come out on the PlayStation 5. But anyway, so I don't know what, I think I was looking on Amazon, and you know how your computer or your phone listens to you, doesn't it? I mean, they do. And the Meta Quest 2 popped up, and I saw it was £200 or $200 in the USA, and I was like, wait a minute, that's really cheap. A new Xbox controller is like £60. I spent £400 on a Steam Deck. You're telling me I can get a VR headset for £200? So that piqued my interest. And then I started doing, looking into, is it any good? Does it work? Does it work with IL-2 Sturmovik? Does it work with Microsoft Flight Simulator? All these sort of things to get that kind of answer. And the answers that all came back were, yeah, it's not the best, but value for money wise, at £200, at $200, you cannot beat this headset. And so I was like, right, okay, let's pull the trigger. And I was lucky enough, I was going around, and in the UK we have phone companies, and a lot of the phone companies sell other tech as well. And a phone company, I think it was O2, they sold me the Meta Quest 2. I think I had to pay £50, and then it's £12 a month, or whatever makes it up to £200 for 12 months. And I thought, for that price, it's worth dipping a toe into it, having a go, and then seeing what it's like, because it's going to be better than the PlayStation VR. And let's give it a go anyway. And with me, what happens is I get a bit of fear of missing out, a bit of FOMO about stuff, and I think, oh yeah, let's give it a go. So I got the Meta Quest 2, set it all up, and started playing it. And I've been playing it for the last few weeks, and I've got to say, I'm very, very happy with this. Playing the built-in games, things like Beat Saber and Zombieland and Crazy Golf, and then playing the PC VR games, which can blow you away actually, with things like IL-2 Sturmovik. Euro Truck Simulator 2 doesn't blow you away, but it's not that sort of game, but it's very immersive. Assetto Corsa, that's absolutely amazing, and and I'm very, very happy with it indeed. Now, the thing I would say though is I want to go back to the idea of just making sure that your PC is capable of VR, and also I really want to say about the fact that although it does wirelessly work between your PC and the headset, and that undoubtedly is the most comfortable way to play, because you don't have any immersion breaking with a wire hanging down or anything like that. It all depends on the quality of your home Wi-Fi network. Meta recommend that if you want to use the wireless solution, you must have a 5 GHz home network, and ideally your wireless router should be in the same room as the headset, and your PC should be connected to your wireless router via a LAN cable. Now, in my particular case, my computer is connected to my router via the Wi-Fi, and the router is a couple of rooms away from where my headset is. So my setup, wasn't perfect for Wi-Fi. However, it was playable. PC VR games were playable, but what I did notice was in games like Microsoft Flight Simulator or Assetto Corsa or IL-2 Sturmovik, things that were in the distance, it would get muddy. I guess that would really be down to the compression that was having to be put onto the video feed before it was being sent to the headset. So although I really enjoyed flying a Spitfire along the Normandy beaches in Microsoft Flight Simulator, or the BF-109 high above Stalingrad in the winter of 1942, it was a little bit fuzzy. But adding a wired connector between my PC and the headset made a massive difference, especially in IL-2 Sturmovik. It almost changed the immersion of the game, because although everything looks good wireless anyway, you're normally in the flight sims, the cockpit looks good, it added that extra level of crispness. So I would say, if you're looking at the Meta Quest 2 and you're thinking, I really like the wireless functionality of it, and trust me, it does work for PC VR, the wireless functionality does, bear in mind that if you want better graphics, you probably are going to end up using a cable. In the videos on this channel, you'll see in lots of them I mention the fact that I want the videos to be about not using a wire, so you get the Wi-Fi experience, because it is the easiest way to use the headset. But at some point you think, I just want the graphics to look that little bit better, and by using a wire they do get better, but then you do have the hassle of running a long wire from your a USB 3 port on your PC around to where you sit, and then the wire's always dragging a bit, and you've got to be undoing it and doing it up to the headset to make the connection work, and things like that. So it is worth mentioning the fact that you may be buying it for wireless, but you're probably going to end up using it wired at some point. The other thing that I will be doing, though, but this isn't part of the review, is getting into modding flat PC games into VR, because this is something I really want to play around with. I really want to have a go at PC VR Resident Evil 2 remake. You know, I want to be in that world in VR, going around the Raccoon City police station. You know, I really want to be in Night City in Cyberpunk 2077, just walking around, not necessarily playing the game. I'm very much into VR as an arcade experience. You know, it's something you experience for 10-20 minutes and then you kind of had enough. You go back to normal games. Even things like DayZ and Armour and Hogwarts Legacy, I want to experience that. The ultimate one that I want to get on with is Battlefield 1's story campaign in VR. I think that could be very, very special indeed, but that's for another video. So, kind of coming back to the reasons for this video, I would say that if you're a more serious PC gamer or a VR enthusiast, say you're really into your racing sims and you want a really good headset to take your racing sim experience to the next level, maybe you've already got 3 monitors and you've got a seat and you've got a steering wheel and pedals, that sort of stuff, you'll probably want to spend more money and get a headset with a wider field of view and maybe have more a better resolution as well. Similarly with flight simulators as well. However, if you're a casual PC gamer like myself who plays lots of different games, and I would call myself, a casual VR user as well, I think you can't go wrong with a MetaQuest 2. I mean, at this price point, it really is absolutely fantastic. They must be selling it for cost, really, for £200, because the controllers must be worth 50 quid. They must be worth, a pair of them must be worth £80. They've got to be. They must be worth £40 each, these things, because of the build quality. And so I've been very, very pleased indeed. So there we go. So if you think you might be interested, make sure your PC can handle VR games. And check out other videos of people playing the games you want to play with the MetaQuest 2. And I think you're going to be very happy indeed. Now, if you're watching this video and the MetaQuest 2 isn't available to buy new anymore and you're looking at a second-hand one, I think that would depend on the price, obviously, and what the replacement for the MetaQuest 2 is. If the replacements for the MetaQuest 2, which could be, people say it might be the MetaQuest 3 Lite, is a similar price, is sort of £200 or maybe £250, but has better resolution or a wider field of view, then obviously you would go for that. But if you could pick one of these up for say £50 or $50, then and you can guarantee it works, then that would be another thing indeed. So there we go, MetaQuest 2 VR headset. I am very, very happy with mine, and yeah, I'm sure you would be too. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit like. If you want to see more of the same, please press subscribe, and of course I'll see you all again soon.